Have you ever like worked on something and you just weren't sure during the process of it, but then it turns out okay at the end? Have you ever like, or maybe like you've doubted yourself while doing something and then at the end of it, it just really wasn't that bad? Well, I know it doesn't really sound very inspiring, but that's kind of the story of today when I went back into SimCity to continue building the Three Lakes region. And for those of you that are just discovering this series or are new to the channel, my name is Michael, and I want to welcome you to Sovereign Gaming in Life Sims. The channel where I build worlds, lots, and also share my thoughts on video games and the life simulation gaming space. So yeah, we are back here in the SimCity world. Specifically, we are focusing on the Three Lakes region. And the reason why I was facing a lot of doubt and a lot of, yeah, there was a lot of self-doubt when I was doing this project, let me tell you. But really where it came at the core of was working with rocks and dealing with rock textures and all of that. So even though I did work on the hills and added in the rock textures for the Mansion Hill district, I again used the same ones for the mountains just for continuity purposes. I wanted the rocks to be the same and all of that just because I think geographically it makes sense. I'm clearly not a geographer, so I can't really say that for certain, but I decided to use the rock texture just to continue with that story of SimCity, and also because I really wasn't going to sift through and search for a rock texture that I liked more, because I really liked this one to begin with. So a combination of laziness and storytelling there. Anyways, I decided to, like today we're really going to be painting up these mountains, we're going to be painting up these hills, and what gets even better is that I actually start to forest them as well. So these mountains are finally going to start looking like real mountains, and Three Lakes is going to start feeling like a real place. It's not going to feel like just these, just this set of narrow hills or anything of the sort there. So yeah, and I really feel like when it came to the terrain paint and using that rock paint texture that it didn't come together until the end when, yeah, it didn't really come together in my opinion until the end when I actually started adding in trees and that, because it just really helped to, I think that the trees really helped to, well, it helped to block a lot of mistakes or imperfections firstly, and that's kind of like a secret trait I suppose of the Creative World creators, is that if you have a really ugly area, you just got to cover it with a bit of vegetation and you're good. And yeah, that was kind of my my thing with this as well, is that it just didn't kind of come together until the end, not until I started placing in the trees, and then it started finally feeling like the Three Lakes region that I wanted it to feel like. So I'm excited to have you guys see that journey and to actually watch it through until the end there, because it does turn out quite beautiful if I do say so myself. I did leave some grassier patches in the mountains themselves, and if I'm going to be kind of honest with you guys, there was really no rhyme or reason to what I was painting as rocks and what I was keeping as the grass texture. I guess like the only rhyme or reason I was sort of using was painting some of those steeper veins and the peaks as the rock texture, and just kind of using like if there was a straight drop or like some sort of a cliff with a really tall wall to it, I would obviously paint that as a rock texture, because to me that would make sense for it to be rocks. So it was very much touch and go. It was very much just kind of paint what I feel like on this map. And granted, like there are some like mountain veins that I kept as grass as well, because to me it felt like it would make sense, and I've seen that in the real world as well. So yeah, a lot of this was just like artistic choices being made, and you know, after the trees go in, I actually think that I did end up making the right choices. Now this will be the kind of rock texture I'm going to use for the other, like if for any future mountains or for any like really steep cliffs or anything of that sort. So using the same one that I used in that mansion district that we had built earlier was definitely a good choice, and I'm really happy that I ended up making that choice. And yeah, I'm keeping these grassy patches open there just to place some vegetation. So there's actually quite a bit of grassier textures that are kept open, just so that I can add in that vegetation flair. And when the trees actually start going in, that's when it all just starts to feel like it is a real mountainous region. So I'm very excited for when that starts playing on screen, because right now it just looks ugly to me. So yeah, I can't wait for that to actually show up and make my work somewhat passable, and maybe someone out there will actually download this world. So who knows? But yeah, no rhyme or reason when it came to painting mountains. And I was thinking about it, and I don't think that there is a rhyme or reason when it comes to painting mountains, rockier textures, or anything of the sort. It really just depends on what you, the player, or the world creator, have decided the look of your mountains will be. I think I spoke about Hawaii a few episodes back, where they actually had really tall cliffs and tall mountains, but they're all grass. So you could go for a similar look like that, like have a really grassy mountain per se, or you could go for something a little rockier, which is what I decided to do here. And another reason why I decided to add in this rockier texture is because the world is very green. I ended up using this green texture for the rest of the world pretty much, and because the world is so green, the rockier textures will help to balance it out. Granted, there is asphalt used in the SimCity downtown core and all of that, but the rest of the world is lush and green and bright, and I love that grass texture. It's much better than the base game one, in my opinion, or at least it's better for the look that I was going for. Let me correct myself, because the base game grass is actually not that bad. It's just a little too yellow for what I was aiming for. If I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, there was really no rhyme or reason for when I do my texture painting. I just kind of do it whenever I feel like it, and I have been sort of doing that throughout this series. I just use it to help to communicate like a sense of place and a sense of neighborhood and all that. But yeah, I actually decided to prioritize texture painting for the Three Lakes region in this case, because it really, it's going to help determine where the trees go where, because I'm not placing trees on rocks, because they're rocks, and trees don't typically grow in rocks, or at least it's very hard for them to grow in rocks, and I didn't want to do that here. So I just So I kind of forced my own hand in a way, in that I had to paint the terrain first before attempting to put in any props or any detailing. And yeah, there's been no rhyme or reason for it up until this point. And at this point, this is really where the priorities have shifted. Like I've mentioned a couple of times now, I'm having to actually design the geography and to design the world before laying down any kind of roads or any kind of road layouts or any kind of lots, because I need to know what the world looks like first before actually placing those down. Whereas in the downtown core, I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted first, and then I kind of built the geography around it in a way. So yeah, I'm enjoying this kind of gameplay, and you're going to see in the next couple of episodes that the world is going to really start to look very complete, because that's kind of what I have had to be forced into, which is more geography work and more terrain work and geography painting as well. And so yeah, it's a great change. It's a really refreshing change. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, those detailing episodes that I'm going to be doing will be just around the corner. And I am not looking forward to painting nearly all of this mountainous terrain as impassable, but whatever, I have to do it. And I would honestly hate myself if I didn't, because I've exported worlds before where I haven't painted down impassable terrain, and people want to walk up mountains and they want to, take their boat absolutely everywhere. That doesn't make sense. And it's very clear from this design of SimCity that there is an element of driving to it if you so chose to live outside of the immediate city. And yeah, that's That's a future project I'm not looking forward to. I might actually, I'm kind of debating on whether or not I even want to film that with you. So, yeah, I might have filmed it by the time you guys actually see this video, because at the time I'm recording this, because I've recorded so many episodes far in advance, the world is pretty much complete, and at the time of recording this video, I am pretty much ready to do a couple of smaller things and then move into the detailing episodes that I spoke about before. So yeah, that is certainly something that's on the horizon at this point here, because the world really just comes together very quickly. This is a clear-cut example of how not every texture is made equal when working with this snow texture, because I painted over it and it looks great and all that, but I think I even had to go over again with some of the mountain rock texture and paint over that, because that snow texture just does not blend well. So yeah, it's one of those textures that you really have to fiddle with and work with and all that. And you know, if you're working in Create a World and you're downloading textures, I believe this was a downloaded one, but this is a very old download anyways. Like, it's from Martine, if I remember correctly, who released all of these Sunlit Tides textures, which are just phenomenal. And, like, they all work perfectly in the game, don't get me wrong there. Like, I'm not complaining about the quality of work. But I believe that the snow texture is one of them, and it's just like the nature of the game. This is not something that Martine would have been able to address in their handiwork. It's something that EA has done, because I've noticed other textures that just don't blend well. Like, they don't play nice with each other. And if you're in Create a World yourself, I recommend, picking out the textures that you want. I've kept my textures pretty minimal because I knew exactly what I wanted. I just wanted a sand, an asphalt, a dry grass, a lush grass, a rock, and that was kind of it. And the underwater texture. And yeah, if you're just getting into Create a World, I almost would suggest just getting a palette of all of the textures you want to play with and just see how they blend with each other. Will one go on top of the other smoothly? Do you have to, like, if texture A blends well on top of texture B, perfect. But if texture B doesn't blend well when placed over texture A, then you kind of have a problem there with the order of work that you need to do. And even the underwater texture doesn't blend well with the grass, because it gets all blocky, and that's kind of that's something that I'm really not liking. But I just kind of feel like that's a Sims 3 EA game kind of issue. So yeah, I did not enjoy working with the snow, but the snow was actually very much well needed, and I love how it just kind of it highlights the mountains. Obviously, it's a very predominant piece of geography on the SimCity world map here, and it just gives it that much more magnificence to it. So, I bit the bullet with the snow, and I decided to actually work with it. For the trees, I decided to do a mix of deciduous and evergreen trees there, just kind of piggybacking off of the mansion district. Only I used less deciduous trees here, and I didn't even use any tropical trees, if I remember correctly. Man, it's been a long day recording this one. Anyways, I really wanted more of an alpine feel to it, but I also wanted Three Lakes to look good in the fall as well, which is why I chose the deciduous trees that I did. When I go back to do these detailing episodes, I might actually add in another tree type, but I'm actually very happy with the way that it looks now. And yeah, I'm happy with the way that Three Lakes is shaping up to be. In the next episode, we depart from Three Lakes and we continue moving on to help to design the rest of the land. And I'm very excited to show you guys that, because there is another piece of important infrastructure that I actually unexpectedly decided to place. And I think that it just turned out very charming. So I'm very excited for you guys to see that episode. And yeah, you'll just have to stay tuned for that one there. Anyways, we are coming up to the end of the build. Please stick around for the tours. The tours are honestly great at this point. I love how the world is looking, and I don't want you guys to miss out on it as well. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I just want to say, yeah, thank you for watching. And if you really enjoyed this video, if you've been enjoying the SimCity Create a World Build series, then feel free to like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Anyways, thank you and have yourself a wonderful day.